The dreams of seeing Lee January 15, 2016. These two accounts happened to me and my mother on January 15. I dreamed of having seen my sister in the early morning around 9 a.m. and my mother saw my sister that night when she was sleeping. Here is the two experiences we both had. This is the first time I've seen Lee at least in 10 years or more. She had golden, shining, wavy hair like she used to have before she curled it in the 1980s. She didn't appear to me very long in this dream except that she was there with some other people and was turning around to look at them, and the whole time I just kept thinking how long it had been since I last saw her, but not any recognition that she had died. The impression was that she had just been away and now was back again, not that it had been 30+ years since I last saw her. Her eyes stand out in my impression because she had the most beautiful green eyes. It was a profile of her face from the side, and seeing her eyes and eyelids made me think, how beautiful she is in heaven now. She never did say anything in the dream that I can remember, but you felt she had been aware of everything since we last saw her. That she is omnipresent all the time. Jesus told us, "You will see me as I am, for you shall be as I am." What caught my attention was how beautiful her hair was. It glowed a golden color, and the waviness of her hair made me believe that she definitely had her wings because she looked angelic in the dream. She didn't radiate illumination, but it's like she glowed round about her that made her seem to be in total peace and contentment. I wish I had said something to her, but the dream lasted only a minute or so. It was so wonderful to know she appeared in the dream, that God had allowed me to see her again. Now I long to see Dad again. The last time I saw him was in 2008 or so. I knew he was leaving to go to heaven because he told me things in a tense that said I won't be seeing you again for a while. The oddness of this dream was that I had woken up and was lying in bed a while and then nodded off again for only a few minutes, and that's when she appeared. No other time did she appear to me at any other time that morning or last night. She seemed to appear like during a time period that she could appear, not just whenever she wanted to. And it was so short a dream I felt like she was saying that she didn't have time to spare, just here I am and now I've got to go now. I slept like maybe half an hour and then woke up again after she appeared. Maybe this means she is saying God's return is soon and that He's only allowing us to see our loved ones only so often and not all the time. It was a blessing to see her though, whenever she does come. I pray Dad will come now because I know he told me that he and Lee cannot appear together in the same dream. That's what he said when he first appeared in 2007, that there are rules that don't allow two people from heaven to appear together at the same time in a dream or vision. Who can say that being allowed to appear to someone doesn't have the same type rules that we must follow whenever we go to see someone here, but you can't just do something without planning for it. The more I focus on her hair, the more it did seem to have a kind of brilliant outline around her face. She didn't wear any kind of robe. It seemed like she was dressed in casual clothing like what she would have worn here on Earth. Nothing out of the ordinary. When she appeared in the backyard of our house in College Park some years ago, she did seem to be wearing the kind of white gown, so maybe this time God allowed her to appear as she wanted to. She appeared in a house, but it wasn't our house here or in College Park nor in Tampa. It seemed like the kind of mansion with arched doors in the background, meaning it could have been direct and lit from heaven maybe. The color of the walls were like a tan-colored gold with reflective sequins glistening somewhat but not too obvious. Kind of like the walls they have on the old Match Game show set where it reflects light, like that. I can't remember anyone with her that I recognize at all. They all seemed to be about her age, early 20s, but nothing else about them. They just kept moving around like they were mingling with each other, talking about I can't remember what. Maybe the date itself means something too. January is 1, 15 and 16 are one number apart from each other. So that could mean we have 1 year left before God returns. Perhaps we should add them together and that would be 2 years left, which would be significant because Israel became a nation in 1948. That would be 70 years in 2018. My mother's dream was of my sister telling her something that makes you think seriously about what will happen during the Battle of Armageddon. She told my mother that she would be fighting in the final battle, which confirms that women and men both will represent God's saints who come with Jesus on the day Armageddon occurs in Megiddo. My mother described Lee as being beautiful. She was just as we remembered her before the firebombing in July 1983. We do receive heavenly bodies in heaven, I know. What makes this experience so interesting is that we didn't really talk about who would be fighting in the final battle. I have read a book that was written about a young boy who went to heaven, named Colton Burpo. He said that when he was in heaven, God allowed him to see the final battle that will happen, and he said, "The women and children and I stood back and watched, and the men fought in the battle." He said that his father, the minister, would be there too. But my sister saying that all the saints will fight is something no one has thought about before. Maybe these two experiences mean that it is soon to happen and that the Antichrist is here among us right now. Watch for Damascus to be obliterated, then Israel will be surrounded by their enemies and the battle starts. An earlier dream my mother had several years ago was even more interesting. My sister appeared in the dream walking in a park, and my mother says that she told her she couldn't see. She said she felt other people were around her but she couldn't see the place she was at. Perhaps when you get to heaven, if you have suffered a really horrible death and you were hurt to the point that your eyes were gone, then in heaven it takes time to recover your senses. She was burned so badly in the fire, they couldn't open the casket. Now, 33 years later, she is at peace and she can see because she has learned to use the heavenly body that God gives us to go on in our new life. It's sad that she knows how seriously she was burned, but it also says that she didn't suffer because she never has said anything about the fire to us in the dreams. These accounts relate to my sister, Lee Ann Carter, who was murdered in Tampa, Florida on a 4th of July weekend in 1983. She was burned to death in a firebombing at a Winn-Dixie store. She died within 1 minute after the explosion. 4 customers died the following week from third-degree burns. I have made another video of other dreams I have shared on YouTube if you might be interested in hearing other such experiences I have had in the past 30 years. The intent of this video is to share what I have seen and perhaps help others who might have experienced familiar dreams or visions themselves. Some people might think that dreams are only our subconscious minds working, but God tells us in the Bible that many people have experienced dreams and visions that have significance in history and personal reflection of people who love who have died. I will never feel any different about the visions I have seen because God wants us to know our loved ones are at peace if we ask Him to show us how they are doing now. Other people have actually written books on the subject, like Always Karen. Her mother experienced many things about her daughter after she died and was able to communicate with her in the years after she first spoke through a spiritual medium. The point I am making here is that God can use many different ways of communicating to us, and He can use our loved ones who have died and were saved in that blessing. Please comment if you have been touched by the experience I had, or if you would like to share your own experience. When my father died in 2005, our television set began turning on by itself the first months afterward. Eventually we had to buy another one, but it would happen late at night after we had gone to bed. I still believe he was here in the house and was lonely, so he turned on the television to watch something. Then I would get up and turn it off again, but it never dawned on me that he was doing it until many years later. I know what you are thinking. This dream I had only lasted 30 minutes or so. How could it have happened so fast a time? Well, God can do anything, and He does miracles even today. I know it happened just as I have described it here. If only I could remembered more.